Inside the ant colony, there is a queen. Around her, the workers feed her, groom her, guard her, carry her eggs away, and tend to her larvae, as if this were the single most important task of their lives. Everything looks the way a healthy colony should look. Except the queen is not who she used to be. A few weeks earlier, a foreign female slipped into this nest. She did not storm the entrance, and she did not fight the whole colony, since against thousands of workers, a lone intruder stands no chance. Instead, she found the true mistress of the nest and climbed onto her back. For days, sometimes for weeks, she stayed there, clinging to the body of the resident queen, until she slowly bit through her neck and killed her. The workers were only an inch or two away when it happened. They did not step in. Afterward, they began feeding and protecting their queen's killer as though nothing had occurred. This is not a one-off case or some strange glitch in behavior. It is a working strategy that dozens of ant species around the world have independently developed on their own. Take a moment to consider this. Worker ants can spot an intruder in the nest almost instantly, and they do it by scent, not appearance. Smell, not looks, tells the colony who belongs and who doesn't. It is a security system that has worked for millions of years and almost never fails. And yet, the killer of the resident queen passes that test, not through force and not through trickery in the ordinary sense. She passes it by changing the very system used to check her in the first place. Keep this question in mind for the rest of the story. If the most reliable way to tell a friend from an enemy can be rewritten from the inside, what actually holds any society together? And where is the line between loyalty and blind obedience to a rule that has already lost its meaning? What follows is exactly how this takeover works, step by step. By the end, you will know why a lone female would even attempt something this risky, how she physically kills a queen far larger and better defended than herself, why the workers allow it to happen, and what becomes of the colony once the coup is complete. And in the final part, we will look at why evolution would ever favor a strategy this brutal, and why it keeps reappearing again and again in completely unrelated species. For most ants, founding a colony from scratch is close to a suicide mission. After her mating flight, a fertilized female sheds her wings, finds a hiding spot, and has to raise her first generation of workers alone, usually with no outside help and no food beyond what her own body can provide, burning through the same muscle tissue that once powered her wings. Mortality at this stage is enormous. Most queens die within the first few weeks without ever seeing a single offspring reach adulthood. In some species, evolution found a shortcut. Instead of building a nest from nothing, a female searches out one that already exists. A colony with workers in place, food stores already stocked, defenses already established, and a nest climate refined over years. She does not need to build a state. She needs to take over one that already runs. The trouble is that the entrance to that state is guarded, and guarded tightly. Worker ants recognize their own, not by shape or behavior, but by scent, a specific blend of surface compounds that forms inside the nest and is shared across the whole colony. Anyone who smells different is treated as a threat and is usually killed within seconds. For a foreign female who has just slipped inside, that means she has a very short window to either acquire the right scent or die. This is where the riskiest part of the plan begins. Direct contact with the one ant that still smells like the rightful owner of this home. In species of the genus Bothriomermex, once the intruder is inside, she does not try to hide, and she does not attack the workers. She searches out the colony's own queen and climbs onto her back. This is not a random gesture. and not a fight over territory in the usual sense. By riding on the resident queen, the parasite gains direct physical access to the very source of the colony's shared scent, the queen's own body, whose odor spreads through the entire nest and serves as the reference point for every worker. Bit by bit, through contact alone, some of that scent transfers onto the intruder. During this time, she eats almost nothing. Her metabolism slows down so much that her presence barely registers as activity that might draw attention. Meanwhile, the resident queen goes on living and working, laying eggs, interacting with her workers, remaining the center of the colony. The killing does not happen right away. It stretches out over time, and the whole time, riding on the back of the rightful queen, sits a creature quietly claiming the right to call this nest her own. Then comes the moment when the borrowed scent is finally strong enough. Once the disguise is convincing enough, the parasite moves to kill. In Bothrio myrmex, this happens quite literally. She slowly bites through the neck of the queen, a process that can take hours or even days, during which the resident queen weakens and eventually dies. The workers are right there the entire time. They do not defend their queen, not because they fail to notice what is happening, but because the signal they respond to has already changed by this point. If the intruder's scent matches, or nearly matches, the colony's scent by the time she attacks, nothing registers to the workers as requiring any response. One ant with the right smell simply happens to be near another. In other species, among some members of the genus Lasius, for instance, the details differ, but the core idea does not. The intruder enters the nest of another Lasius species, eliminates the resident queen more directly, and during the transition, the colony is held together by the workers of the queen who was just killed. They keep working, keep feeding the brood, keep defending the nest, even as the brood they are raising increasingly belongs not to their own species, but to the intruders. By this point, the coup is technically over, but the real transformation of the colony is only beginning, and it will take far longer than the takeover itself. Right after the coup, the colony looks almost unchanged from the outside. Workers hatched under the old queen keep doing their jobs, foraging, tending the brood, defending the nest. The difference is that every new egg now belongs to the new queen, and therefore to a different species entirely. The old generation of workers is not immortal. They age and die off naturally, one by one, and nothing replaces them except the offspring of the intruder. After several months, sometimes more than a year, a colony that once carried not a single member of the original species keeps functioning in the same tunnels, in the same location, with the same division of labor, but now made up entirely of the intruder's descendants. From the standpoint of the nest as a structure, nothing was ever interrupted. The nest never emptied. Food kept coming in. Brood kept being raised. Only the species living inside it changed, and it happened so gradually that there was never a single moment when anyone or anything could have pointed to a before and an after. Which raises the real question behind this entire mechanism. Why would evolution favor such a slow, risky strategy at all, when there are far more direct ways to seize a rival's resources? The direct alternative, building a colony from nothing, is simply too costly. The overwhelming majority of queens die during that stage without leaving any offspring at all. Temporary social parasitism is a way of skipping the deadliest stage in an ant's life cycle by handing it off to someone else, quite literally. One thing is worth being careful about here. This is not a story about cunning or deceit in the human sense. The parasitic female has no plan and no intention to trick anyone. What she has is an inherited set of instincts and chemical responses. sharpened over millions of years of selection in lineages where this strategy, even slightly, improved the odds of leaving offspring behind. The species in which this mechanism took hold are simply the species whose ancestors survived more often this way than by building a nest from scratch. Tellingly, this same strategy has arisen independently in species that are not closely related. In Bothriomermex, in several lineages of Lasius, and in a number of other genera around the world, each with its own details but built on the same underlying principle: hijacking the signal of identity as a way to gain access to someone else's resources. When the same trick gets reinvented over and over by unrelated species, it usually means one thing: the strategy works well enough to justify even this level of risk. One layer of the story is still left, the same big question this all started with. The entire defense system of an ant colony rests on a single signal: scent. This is not a flaw in the design, and not some accidental weakness. For a system that has to tell thousands of friends from any single enemy in a fraction of a second, scent is the fastest and most reliable marker evolution could have produced. The issue is not that the mechanism is poorly designed. The issue is that any check, no matter how reliable, can be defeated once something learns to fake the exact signal that check depends on. The workers feeding their own queen's killer are not making a mistake in the usual sense. They are acting entirely rationally, given the only information available to them. They simply have no way to look past the scent and see that the ant in front of them is not who her scent claims she is. If you have ever assumed that looking like you belong is enough to be accepted by any system, ants offer a fairly vivid example of where that assumption can lead. Let us know in the comments, did it surprise you that the workers went on caring for the very ant that killed their queen? Or, now that you know how the scent mechanism works, would you have done the same thing in their place?